The avoidant just received a message from you, and their brain is short-circuiting. The message wasn't what they expected. It wasn't desperate or emotional or demanding. It wasn't cold or punishing or designed to make them feel guilty. It was something they've never experienced from someone they pushed away. Soft contact, warm but boundaried, friendly but not available, acknowledging the connection without pursuing it. The message communicated clearly that you have a full life, that you're doing well, that you remember them fondly but don't need them. And this combination of warmth without need, acknowledgement without pursuit, is creating something in the avoidant they rarely experience: genuine desire. Not the comfortable knowing that you're always available, not the security of having you chase them, but actual want, actual craving for more of your energy, more of your attention, more of you. The soft contact method is scrambling every pattern. The avoidant relies on because you're not playing the game they know how to play. You're not pursuing them so they can't run. You're not ignoring them so they can't feel relieved. You're existing in a middle space that's fascinating and frustrating and ultimately irresistible to the avoidant psychology. Soft contact is the opposite of everything anxiously attached people typically do when an avoidant pulls away. The anxious response is to pursue harder, to demand explanation, to try to close the distance the avoidant created. Or it's the opposite extreme, complete no contact that's rigid and clearly coming from a place of hurt. But soft contact is different. It's the secure response. It's you maintaining your dignity and your warmth while being completely unavailable for the dynamics the avoidant is used to creating. You're not chasing and you're not hiding. You're just living your life and occasionally letting them see that your life is full and happy and doesn't revolve around them. This glimpse of you thriving independently while still being warm if you happen to cross paths creates a unique psychological effect in the avoidant. It makes them want more of you specifically because you're not offering more. The power of soft contact is that it speaks directly to what actually attracts avoidance. Avoidants are attracted to independence, to people who don't need them, to those who have their own full lives. But they also need some warmth, some indication that connection is possible if they were brave enough to reach for it. Soft contact provides both: the independence that attracts them and the warmth that makes them feel safe enough to want more. It's the perfect balance that no contact and pursuing both miss. No contact provides independence but no warmth, so the avoidant feels relieved rather than drawn to you. Pursuing provides warmth but no independence, so the avoidant feels suffocated rather than attracted. Soft contact is the narrow path between these extremes, and walking it correctly can make the avoidant experience desire for you they've never felt when you were readily available. What soft contact actually is and isn't. Soft contact is strategic warmth combined with genuine unavailability. It's not manipulation. It's not games. It's not you pretending to be okay while secretly hoping they'll chase you. Soft contact is you genuinely being okay, genuinely having moved forward with your life, genuinely being unavailable for the relationship that was, while still being kind and warm in the limited interactions that might occur. It's you running into them and being friendly without being flirty. It's you responding to their message with warmth but not continuing the conversation. It's you acknowledging shared history without trying to recreate it. The genuineness is crucial. If you're performing soft contact while actually being available and hoping, the avoidant will sense it and the method won't work. Soft contact looks like brief, positive interactions that leave the avoidant wanting more. You see them at a mutual friends event and you're genuinely happy to see them. You have a warm but brief conversation, and then you move on to talk to other people. You don't avoid them like you're hurt, but you also don't linger like you're hoping for reconciliation. The interaction is pleasant and then it's over, and the being over is what creates desire. The avoidant is used to you being available for extended interaction whenever you see each other, but now you have other people to talk to, other places to be, a full life that doesn't center on them. The brevity combined with warmth creates intrigue. Soft contact can also look like responding to their message in ways that are warm, but don't create obligation for continued conversation. They reach out to check in, you respond genuinely that you're doing well, you ask how they are, you acknowledge their response kindly, and then you don't continue the exchange. You don't leave them on red coldly, but you also don't jump at the opportunity to keep talking. The conversation reaches natural conclusion without you pushing it forward, and the avoidant is left thinking about you because the interaction was good but insufficient. They got a taste of your energy, and it reminded them what they're missing, but they didn't get enough to satisfy the wanting. Soft contact is also posting about your life in ways that show you thriving without making it obvious you want them to see. You're not posting for their benefit. You're posting because you have a life worth documenting. But if they're watching, which avoidants often do, they see you're genuinely happy. You're traveling or pursuing hobbies or spending time with people who value you. You look better than you did when you were stressed by their inconsistency. The avoidant sees evidence that losing them hasn't destroyed you, and this evidence is both relieving and disturbing. Relieving because they don't have to feel guilty about your devastation. Disturbing because they realize they're not as important as they assumed. What soft contact is not, is pretending to be thriving while you're actually struggling. It's not performing happiness while secretly monitoring their every move, hoping they'll come back. It's not being warm to manipulate them into wanting you. The performance always fails because avoidants are perceptive about authenticity. They can sense when someone's warmth is strategy versus genuine state. Soft contact only works when it's real, when you've actually done the work to move forward, when you genuinely are okay whether they come back or not. The method isn't about making them want you. It's about you being genuinely fine, and that genuine fineness happening to be exactly what makes them want you. Why soft contact works on avoidant psychology. Soft contact works because it removes the pressure that typically makes avoidance run while creating the scarcity that makes them pursue. When you were available and pursuing them, they had pressure and abundance. Pressure from your needs and expectations. Abundance because they knew you were always there. This combination made them want to create distance. But soft contact inverts this completely. Now they have no pressure because you're not asking anything of them, and they have scarcity because you're not readily available. No pressure plus scarcity equals the perfect conditions for avoidant desire to surface. The avoidant is used to being pursued. Their entire relational strategy is built on other people doing the work of maintaining connection while they maintain comfortable distance. But you're not pursuing anymore. You're not closing the gaps they create. You're not reaching out consistently. You're not doing the emotional labor. And the absence of your pursuit is creating a void the avoidant is noticing. They're realizing they took your effort for granted. They're recognizing that your pursuit was what kept the connection alive. They're confronting that without your energy directed toward them, the relationship is actually dead. And this death is motivating them to do something they rarely do, reach toward you. Soft contact also works because it demonstrates the exact quality avoidants find most attractive: secure attachment. You're showing them you can be warm without being needy, present without being clingy, open without being desperate. The avoidant watches you being kind while having boundaries, engaging while being unavailable, acknowledging them while not needing them. And every interaction is teaching them you're different from the anxious patterns they're used to triggering. Secure attachment is magnetic to avoidance because it promises connection without the engulfment they fear. Soft contact is you demonstrating secure attachment in action. The method works because it creates mystery where there was certainty. The avoidant was certain about how you felt about them, certain you'd always be available, certain they could return whenever they wanted and you'd be receptive. But soft contact introduces uncertainty. The avoidant isn't sure if you're still interested. They don't know if you've moved on. They can't tell if the door is open or closed. This uncertainty activates their pursuit mechanism because avoidants are often attracted to what's uncertain or slightly unavailable. When you were certain and available, they were uninterested. Now that you're uncertain and unavailable, they're intrigued. Soft contact works on avoidant psychology because it makes them experience what they typically make others experience, wanting someone who isn't fully available. The role reversal is powerful. The avoidant is used to being the wanted one, the one with power through their withholding. But now you're the one who's somewhat withholding, not through games but through genuine busy life and boundaries. The avoidant is experiencing what it's like to want more access to someone who has other priorities. And this experience of wanting what they can't easily have is creating desire they never felt when you were readily available. The specific ways to implement soft contact. Implementing soft contact successfully requires genuine internal work first. You can't fake the secure attachment that soft contact demonstrates. You have to actually do the work of healing from the relationship, of building a full life independent of them, of processing your feelings so you're genuinely okay whether they come back or not. This internal foundation is what makes the external soft contact authentic. Without doing this internal work, you'll be performing soft contact while energetically still being attached, and the avoidant will sense the performance and won't be affected by it. The first rule of soft contact is you don't initiate unless you have genuine reason. You're not reaching out to check in or to remind them you exist. You're living your life, and if something genuinely prompts contact, like needing to coordinate about shared belongings or having news they'd legitimately want to know, then you reach out. But the reaching out is friendly, brief, and specific to the actual reason. You're not using logistical contact as excuse to try to have emotional conversation. You handle the business and you move on. This restraint in initiation creates scarcity, while the warmth when you do interact creates safety. When the avoidant reaches out to you, soft contact means you respond, but you don't jump. If they text, you respond when it's convenient for you, not immediately. If they want to talk, you're warm, but you don't have unlimited time. You engage genuinely, but you have other things going on. Your responses are kind, but they're not long. You answer their question or acknowledge their statement, but you don't continue the conversation beyond natural conclusion. You're showing them you're happy to hear from them, but your life doesn't stop for them. This balance keeps them engaged without giving them the satisfaction of having your full attention. If you run into the avoidant in person, soft contact means being genuinely happy to see them, having warm but brief interaction, and then moving on. You don't avoid them or act hurt. You don't linger hoping for extended conversation. You acknowledge them kindly. You chat briefly about surface-level topics. You're genuinely interested in their response. And then you have somewhere else to be. Maybe you're meeting other friends. Maybe you see someone else you want to talk to. Maybe you just prefer to move on. The interaction is pleasant and incomplete, leaving them wishing it had lasted longer. Soft contact on social media means you're living your life publicly without making it obvious you want them to see. You're not posting things designed to make them jealous. You're not hiding your life from them either. You're just documenting your actual life, which happens to be full and happy. If they're watching, they see you're thriving. If they interact by liking or commenting, you respond warmly but briefly, treating them like you'd treat any acquaintance. You're not cold, but you're not giving special treatment. The public evidence of your thriving combined with your casual friendliness, if they engage, creates cognitive dissonance for the avoidant. What happens in the avoidant's mind during soft contact? When you implement soft contact correctly, specific things happen in the avoidant's psychology that don't happen with pursuing or no contact. The first is confusion. The avoidant is confused about where they stand with you. They're used to people being clearly available or clearly done. But you're neither. You're warm but busy, friendly but unavailable, open but not pursuing. This confusion is actually engaging for the avoidant. They think about you more because they're trying to figure out what your warmth means, whether you're still interested, if the door is actually open or just appears open. The confusion leads to the avoidant monitoring you more closely. They're paying attention to your social media. They're asking mutual friends about you. They're analyzing your responses to their messages for clues about your feelings. The avoidant is engaging in the same behavior they used to trigger in you, and the obsessive monitoring is evidence they're becoming attached in ways they weren't when you were pursuing them. They're pursuing information about you because you're not freely offering that information anymore, and the pursuit of information often precedes pursuit of actual reconnection. Soft contact also triggers comparison in the avoidant's mind. They're comparing how you are now to how you were when you were together. You seem happier, lighter, more yourself. They're comparing themselves to you and recognizing you're thriving while they're stuck. They're comparing you to new people they're meeting or dating and finding everyone lacking in the specific ways you excelled. The comparison is creating regret about losing you and curiosity about whether they could have you again, whether you'd be open to trying again, whether they missed their chance permanently. The avoidant is experiencing something unfamiliar. They want more of you, more of your time, more of your attention, more of your energy. They want extended conversation when you only give them brief interaction. They want you to reach out when you're not reaching out. They want access to your life when you're living that life independently of them. The wanting is uncomfortable for the avoidant because wanting means needing means vulnerability. But the wanting is also undeniable. You've become interesting to them in ways you never were when you were available. And interesting to an avoidant is the gateway to desire. But here's the critical warning. Soft contact is not manipulation, and it doesn't guarantee outcome. Soft contact isn't a trick to get the avoidant back. It's not a manipulation to make them want you. If you're using soft contact strategically while secretly still being emotionally attached and hoping for reunion, you're not doing soft contact correctly. You're doing performance, and performance doesn't work on avoidants who are highly sensitive to authenticity. Soft contact only works when it's genuine, when you've actually moved forward, when you're actually okay. And if you've actually moved forward and you're actually okay, you might not even want them back. The method's effectiveness relies on you not being invested in the outcome. Soft contact also doesn't guarantee the avoidant will do the work required to be capable of real relationship. It might make them want you more. It might make them reach out. It might make them pursue you in ways they never did when you were available. But wanting you more doesn't mean they've healed their attachment wounds. Being intrigued by you doesn't mean they've developed capacity for sustained intimacy. Pursuing you doesn't mean they're ready for commitment. The avoidant can experience all the effects of soft contact and still be the same emotionally unavailable person they've always been. Soft contact changes their desire, not their capacity. The different responses you might get and what they mean. When you implement soft contact, the avoidant will respond in one of several ways, and each response gives you information about their state and their capacity. The first possible response is increased pursuit. The avoidant starts reaching out more. They want to see you. They're suddenly more available than they've ever been. They're showing interest and effort that was completely absent when you were pursuing them. This response seems positive, but it requires scrutiny. Are they pursuing because they've done internal work or because you became scarce? Are they ready for actual relationship or just activated by the chase? The second response is breadcrumbing with increased frequency. The avoidant isn't pursuing seriously, but they're reaching out more than they did when you were in limbo. They're sending occasional messages, liking your posts, finding small excuses to contact you. This response means soft contact is working to increase their interest, but they're not ready or willing to do anything meaningful with that interest. They want to keep you as an option while not committing to actual pursuit. This response tells you they're affected by soft contact, but not affected enough to overcome their avoidance. The third response is the avoidant expressing direct interest in trying again. They tell you they've been thinking about things. They acknowledge they made mistakes. They want to talk about giving the relationship another chance. This response seems most promising, but it requires the most scrutiny. Have they been in therapy? Have they done actual work on their patterns? Is this desire coming from loss of access to you or from genuine readiness to be different? You need to see evidence of changed capacity, not just changed desire, before considering their expression of interest. The fourth response is confusion expressed directly to you. The avoidant doesn't understand your behavior. They're used to you being available and now you're not. They might ask what changed or why you're different. This response is the avoidant trying to get information that would help them understand where they stand. Your response should maintain the soft contact framework, warm but boundaried. You can acknowledge things have changed without explaining in detail. You can be honest that you've moved forward with your life without making it about them or about hoping they'll change. The fifth response is no change in their behavior. The avoidant receives your soft contact and remains distant. They don't increase pursuit. They don't breadcrumb more. They don't express interest in reconnection. This response is the clearest information you can get. They're either not that affected by you, or they're so avoidant that even soft contact doesn't penetrate their defenses. Either way, this response tells you they're not capable of the relationship you need. Their lack of response to your thriving while being warm but unavailable is evidence you should continue moving forward without them. When soft contact brings them back, and what happens next? If soft contact works to bring the avoidant back, if they start pursuing you with what seems like genuine interest, you're at a critical decision point. The first thing to assess is whether they've done any actual work on themselves. Have they been in therapy consistently? Have they read about attachment, and are they applying that knowledge? Can they articulate what was wrong before and what would be different now? If they haven't done work, if they just want you back because you became unavailable, getting back together will likely result in the same patterns emerging. Once they feel secure, they have you again. If the avoidant has done work, if there's evidence of genuine growth, you still need to proceed carefully. Growth is not the same as healed. The avoidant might have more awareness and slightly more capacity, but they likely still have significant limitations. You need to be clear about what you need from a relationship and watch whether they can actually meet those needs consistently over time. Don't accept promises of future behavior. Evaluate present capacity. Can they show up now? Can they be vulnerable now? Can they handle intimacy now? Present behavior predicts future behavior more accurately than intentions or promises. When the avoidant comes back, you also need to examine your own patterns. What made you willing to accept their original treatment? What wounds in you were activated by their avoidance? Have you done your own work to understand your attachment patterns and heal them? If you haven't, you might be repeating familiar dynamics rather than choosing healthy relationship. The avoidant coming back because of soft contact doesn't mean the relationship will be healthy. It just means they want access to you again. Whether you grant that access should depend on evidence of changed capacity in both of you. If you do decide to try again with an avoidant who's come back, establish clear boundaries from the beginning. What behavior is acceptable and what will result in you leaving permanently? What communication do you need, and what happens if that communication isn't maintained? What pace of intimacy are you comfortable with, and what's your limit for how long you'll move at their slow pace? The boundaries aren't ultimatums designed to control them. They're clarity about what you need and what you'll accept. If they can't meet those needs, you walk away without guilt, because you were clear about requirements from the start. The real purpose of soft contact isn't getting them back. The real purpose of soft contact, if you're doing it correctly, isn't to get the avoidant back. It's to maintain your dignity while you heal, to practice secure attachment in action, to demonstrate to yourself that you can be warm without being desperate and unavailable without being bitter. Soft contact is for you more than it's for them. It's you refusing to make their rejection mean something about your worth. It's you choosing to be kind anyway, while protecting yourself through unavailability. It's you living your life fully regardless of whether they're in it. Soft contact that's genuine is evidence you've healed enough that their presence or absence doesn't determine your emotional state. You can be warm when you encounter them because you're not carrying resentment. You can be unavailable because you genuinely have a full life, not because you're trying to punish them. You can respond kindly to their messages because their reaching out doesn't mean more to you than it objectively should. This level of healing is the goal, not getting them back. Getting them back might be a side effect, but it shouldn't be the objective. The real power of soft contact is that it positions you to make clear-headed decisions about the avoidant if they do come back. When you were anxiously pursuing them, if they'd shown interest, you would have jumped at the opportunity regardless of whether they'd changed. But after implementing genuine soft contact, after building a full life and healing enough to be okay without them, if they come back, you can evaluate clearly whether they're actually capable of the relationship you need. You're not desperate for their return. You're discerning about whether their return is something that would actually enhance your already full life. Soft contact, done genuinely, also protects you from wasting more time on someone who's not capable of meeting your needs. If the avoidant doesn't respond to soft contact, if you're thriving while being warm but unavailable doesn't intrigue them, you have clear information that they're not the right person for you. You can move forward knowing you were your best self and they still weren't interested, which means the issue is compatibility or their capacity, not your worth. This clarity allows you to fully release them instead of always wondering if you'd done something differently, whether the outcome would have changed. The bottom line: soft contact from secure place is magnetic, but it requires not needing it to work. Soft contact can make an avoidant beg for more of you if it's done correctly, if you're genuinely secure, if you truly have moved forward with your life. The warmth without need, the friendliness without pursuit, The acknowledgement without availability creates a perfect storm of intrigue for avoidant psychology. But the method only works if you don't need it to work. If you're genuinely okay with either outcome, if you're doing it from secure attachment rather than anxious strategy. The avoidant can sense the difference between genuine security and performance, and only genuine security is attractive to them. Use soft contact as a way to practice being your best self regardless of their response. Be warm, because that's who you are, not because you're trying to make them want you. Be unavailable because you actually have a full life, not because you're playing hard to get. Respond kindly because you've healed enough to not carry bitterness, not because you're hoping kindness will win them back. When soft contact comes from this genuine place, it might bring the avoidant back. But more importantly, it ensures you're living well regardless of whether they return. And living well is the actual goal. The avoidant begging for more of you is just potential side effect of you finally giving yourself what you always deserved. Your own full attention, your own priority, your own life that's so fulfilling. Their presence or absence becomes increasingly irrelevant.